Bill along with Alan, and now all the way out to Las Vegas to bring in Pete Rose. Yes, he joins us on the MSG 150 speed dial presented by Fios by Verizon. Pete, thanks so much for joining us. You have a new book out. It's called Play Hungry, The Making of a Baseball Player. Tell us about the book and the motivation for doing the book.
Well, I think, I'm getting up there in years now, and I never really had a situation where I really talked about my dad the way I should have. And I was a baseball player because of the way he brought me up. And I was very fortunate because he was a baseball player, a basketball player, and a football player, and probably the best football player ever to come out of Cincinnati. And I'm just my dad in the next generation with a bigger and better opportunity. And I think we're getting away from that today with dads and sons and dads and daughters relationship. And I just want, or I hope everybody could have a relationship with their dad that I had with my dad. And when you read the book, you'll understand why I played the game the way I played the game.
And I believe I've heard you tell this story before. I think it's also in the book about if your dad had been around when you were gambling, that things would have been much different for you. Tell that story, please.
It might have been different, but don't forget, I don't know. Well, I know nobody in the clubhouse knew I was gambling when I was gambling. So the only way my dad would have knew is if I'd have told him. Okay, what I mean by that, no players, no coaches, no clubhouse guys, nobody knew that when I was gambling, but if my dad would have been there and he knew I was gambling, he'd have probably put a halt to it. Because he's the only guy in the world I ever idolized. And I met 7 presidents, but my father's the only one I ever idolized.
Pete, where do things stand in your estimation with the Hall of Fame right now?
See you later, buddy.
They don't stand, and I'm not worried about that. I mean, if I ever had the honor of going in the Hall of Fame, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. But I'm not going to live the rest of my life worrying about going to the Hall of Fame. My family knows what kind of player I was. My fans know what kind of player I was. My teammates know what kind of player I was. And I'm the one that screwed that up, so I'm not going to get on your show and complain about that. I don't think there's any way in the world that I'll ever go to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cincinnati. I got my number retired in Cincinnati. I got a statue in Cincinnati. And don't forget, guys, that's where I was born. So that means so much to me to have those 3 things happen to me in Cincinnati. But I can't live the rest of my life worrying about going to Cooperstown. If it ever opens up, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. But when you screw up, you can't complain about something. It's because it's not their fault. It was my fault. Although I would like to have a second chance, something I have not been able to get so far. But I'm only 78, so maybe it's around the corner.
Plenty of time for sure. And we see how many people still turn out to see you, to get autographs, to meet you. It shows that many people still remember the way you played, how hard you played, the Charlie Hustle nickname, of course. And I have to ask, today's game with analytics, could Charlie Hustle play with analytics in today's era because of the way they make you play now, where it seems like hustling is almost no, we'd rather you strike out.
I don't think they. No. I don't think they make you play a certain way. And there again, could you name me a team that was strictly analytics that's won the World Series in the last 5 or 6 years? Here's the way you win a World Series: you pitch, you hit with men on base. I don't care if you strike out. That's the philosophy today. How many home runs can I hit? Okay, that's up. Strikeouts are up. And more importantly, and the commissioner should think about this, attendance is down. Okay, attendance is down in baseball. Attendance is not down in basketball. It's not down in football. It's certainly not down in hockey. So baseball has some concerns that they have to take care of. And I don't like the way the game's played today, but it's not the players' fault. The players, they go to the ballparks, and the ballparks are bandboxes, and the ball's juiced. They play with what they give them to play with. And don't tell me the ball's not juiced. There's too many home runs. Everybody who plays baseball today is potentially a home run hitter. Right. Not 40, 50, but I guarantee everybody on every roster today has at least 1 home run. And he's going to have more and more and more. And, I never thought I'd get on the show and defend pitchers. You can't pitch in Cincinnati. You can't pitch in the Camden Yards. You can't pitch in Colorado. You can't pitch in Philadelphia. You can't pitch in Colorado. You can't pitch in the new ballpark in Atlanta. You know, there's so many bandboxes in baseball. Houston is a joke.
Yeah.
If you ever did an appearance there and you stood at home plate, you'd say, why is those fences so close, you know, to where the fielder plays? And it's just not fair to pitchers, but that's what baseball wants, and that's what they got.
I imagine you wonder how many home runs could you hit today? Because, you know, you watch the way the game's played, and you ask yourself, you know, what players would be transcendent? Which players could have played in another era? Is there someone you watch today and say, boy, that's a guy he plays the way I like to play?
Listen, I was over in New York last week and did everything, all the main shows, Francesa and Kay and Mad Dog and the rest of them on Fox. And I even had one guy, I forgot who it was, he said, well, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron couldn't play today. What the hell are they talking about? Those guys couldn't play baseball today? Maybe guys today couldn't play back in the 60s and 70s.
That's what I meant, yeah.
If you can play baseball, you can play today. Yeah, you can play today. It's just, I'm not going to drop my back shoulder and try to hit a fly ball. I'm going to try to hit a line drive. You know, I don't care how far a home run goes. If you have a 330-foot fence and you hit it 331 feet, you get an RBI. You don't get 2 RBIs if you hit it 440 feet. And everybody on TV today, oh, that one went 460. That one went 430. So what? Who cares how far it goes? Just get it over the fence. Line drives go out of the ballpark, too. I know a guy that hit 755 home runs and never hit a tape measure home run. His name was Henry Aaron. He hit line drive home runs, 755 of them. Okay? Barry Bonds wasn't a tape measure type guy. He hit more home runs than Hank did. Willie Mays is 660. You know, I watched these guys play their whole careers. I don't remember any of them hitting opposite field home runs. Every night I watch replays, there's opposite field home runs in every game that's played in baseball today. Are they that much stronger than we were? I don't know how much stronger they could be than Willie McCovey.
Pete,
Willie Mays was 198 pounds.
Last one for you, Pete. You were Rookie of the Year in 1963. It's Rookie of the Week here.
Yeah.
On MSG Network, presented by Squarespace, Rookie Week all week, presented by Squarespace. Any memories that stand out for you during that year when you won Rookie of the Year, your first year in Major League Baseball?
A couple. One, I had to beat out Ron Hunt, who played for the Mets. Everybody in New York wanted him to win. And I remember when I was called by Jack Lang to congratulate me on being National League Rookie of the Year, I was shining the mess hall floor at Fort Knox. I was in the Army, and I got the call from Jack Lang. I don't know how in the hell he got a hold of me at Fort Knox, but he did, to congratulate me on being Rookie of the Year. That's kind of interesting.
That's a great story.
Well, Pete, we'll leave it there. Hey, thanks so much. Enjoy the summer. We can't thank you enough for joining us here.
Well, you get my book. I got a lot of stories. I got a lot of stories in my book. You get it, you'll laugh your ass off. Okay. And by the way, MSG does a great job.
NBA Draft about 24 hours from now. Prospects today at the Grand Hyatt, including Zion Williamson, who is a lock to go #1 tomorrow night to New Orleans. R.J. Barrett, well, Knicks at 3 overall, and it seems like he's going to be their guy, and Barrett looks forward to possibly being a New York Knick. Here's Barrett from this afternoon.
It's New York City. You know, you want to be, you know, shown in Times Square. You want your picture there. You want those kind of things, and you know, just to inspire people. That's really what it's about.
RJ's a great player. I've been knowing him for a minute, so he's always been a killer on the court. He's a dominant player, so I feel like nothing's going to change once he gets to the NBA. His skill set is amazing. Young, great guy, so it's like once he get the right fit, it's going to be perfect for him.
I think he's a good player. He can do a little bit of everything. He has great size. He's really athletic. We played him twice this year. He had 2 good performances, so I think he's a very good player as well.
He's a good player, you know, really good player, really super talented, can score the ball in many ways. He's also a playmaker who can get teammates involved, and I think he's competitive, and you know he's a winner. He has that will to win.
I think if RJ gets drafted by New York, he'll handle it, like, and not just good, but like great, like better than people expect. Like RJ is cold-blooded, like he's built for people doubting him, telling him like maybe he's not ready. I just built for that. Like, and, you know, I got to see it firsthand this year at Duke. So I don't doubt RJ in the slightest. Like, I think at the next draft, he'll come out here and he'll handle his business.
All right, how about Zion Williamson with those comments? Meantime, Barrett's coach at Duke, Coach K. RJ will flourish here in New York. He wants to be here. He's so mature. He just turned 19 last Friday, but he's been a part of the Canadian basketball program since he was a little guy, always played up. Seems like a lot of people bullish on RJ Barrett, John.
Well, he's going to play really well. Like they said, he's been playing with the Canadian national team since he was a young kid because of his father's affiliation up there. And he's been playing against grown men since he was like 15, 16, handling his own and actually playing really well and playing better than most of the grown men. So I think he's prepared, he's ready, he's and he's built for it. Like he's been saying, he's built for it. He's been coming back and forth to New York since he's a little kid also with his father. So New York's not going to be like too big for him.
I agree. I think another thing I loved hearing was Steve Nash is his godfather.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you have a game and you pick up the phone and you can get a little insights like, hey, Steve, what do I need to work on? You know, he's a two-time NBA MVP and one of the greatest point guards ever to play this game and a future Hall of Famer. So when you have that type of influence off the floor, along with Rowan Barrett, who, had a nice little career himself, that's going to help his career tremendously. And this guy was a first-team All-American. People forget. And when Zion went out, he averaged like 20, he almost averaged a triple-double. 28 points, like 26 points, 10 boards, and like 6 assists. So he's a complete player. He dominated at a young age in college basketball. And you know how tough it is sometimes to score on some of those teams. So I would love to see him in a Knick uniform.
Zion Williamson,
Yep.
He's in town. He's going to be a lock.
Yes.
He's enjoying the sights here in New York City. What do you think is going to separate him potentially as he enters the NBA?
So with Zion, he comes in with an immediate impact because he's so athletic. I was told that he did a running vertical and jumped over 46 inches, which is basically what LeBron did coming out of high school. So he's the best athlete to enter the NBA draft, I think, since LeBron. He also weighed 284 pounds. So if he can maybe slim up a little bit to 270, get himself down. As you know, John, the bigger you are, the more you weigh, harder it is to maintain that back. Yes. Yeah. So, but all that aside, great kid, plays hard, selfless, will rebound immediately, will guard, and I think he'll score. I think 16 and 8, something like that, is realistic early for him. My biggest question mark for Zion is, at what point does he become not necessarily a knockdown shooter, but a reliable shooter? Because he actually shot the ball better than people realize at Duke. But he needs to be someone that can get easy buckets and not just have to rely on that bully ball all the time.
Now, is a weight a concern?
Yeah, it is for me.
Guys?
I mean, a little bit. Over time, you'd like him to get that down, but I just don't know how he's going to get it down. I mean,
his body type is so thick.
He's all muscle. I mean, the guy's thick. He's got it in his legs. I mean, I know 6'6", 285 isn't ideal, but LeBron is 6'9", 270, so he's got a couple extra inches. It's going to be interesting because one of the reasons why he's so dominant is because of his weight and his strength, and I don't want him losing any strength. The only way sometimes you can lose muscle, you can lose weight, is to lose muscle. So it's a balance between what his body can handle and what his legs can handle.
I think he's going to be all right. I'm a little concerned about it, but, as you know, muscle weighs more than fat, so he's probably like 6-7% body fat, which is ideal in the NBA, and he's going to be all right, but he might maybe want to lose like 15 pounds so he could be a little lighter, especially on defense, so he can slide his feet.
He leaned out as he got older.
Yeah, I know LeBron. LeBron comes in at 270, and they got to keep him out of the weight room in the summer, or else he'll balloon up to 280 because he puts on muscle like that. And then during the season, as he gets worn down, he gets to 265, 260, and by the end of the season, he plays right around that weight. So, if Zion throughout the NBA season with all the, he can't get in the weight room very much, if he loses about 10 pounds maybe, that might be the ideal weight for him.
Yeah, so another thing with Zion, too, is what is he going to be asked to do right away? That's a team that's going to be very young. They're not going to be winning. If he can just come in and play and just start to, get accustomed to the NBA game and not necessarily always rely on his balance and athleticism. That's what I was saying. Get yourself a face-up 18-footer, a jab pull-up. Just make things easier for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the big trade today in the NBA, Mike Conley traded by Memphis to Utah. Does that mean Ja Morant is a lock at number 2, and does that mean RJ Barrett is a lock at 3 for the Knicks?
So I think Morant's been locked in at 2 for a long time. What's so crazy about Morant with me is not only was he not recruited, they found him playing 3-on-3 at an AAU tournament when an assistant coach from Murray State went to get a snack. He didn't dunk, guys, until he was a senior in high school.
Wow.
And he's the first guy ever in NCAA history since they kept track of the stat in 85 to average 20 and 10.
Yeah.
So he has all of that. I think what really separates Ja is ability to get downhill, to score, and he loves to pass. Ambidextrous with each hand. I think he's really special, and I think he's going to be the face of that franchise for a long time. The bigger question mark is Barrett at 3, who's been pretty much the presumptive pick of the Knicks for quite some time. The Maple Mamba, we talk about that. He wants to be here. How much criticism would the Knicks get if they didn't take him at 3 would be probably my biggest question.
Yeah, no, that's a big question. And, that's a pick that kind of falls right into your lap. It's the logical pick, but there are a lot of good, talented players out there. I think RJ is going to be a solid pro for a long time.
Back on the MSG 150 presented by Chase. Here's what we have. Big Thursday and Friday. We're on the air Thursday at 7:30 tomorrow night for the NBA Draft, and Friday at 8. That's when we come your way to 10:30 Friday. Friday night is the night of the NHL Draft. Back with Alan. Time now to bring in our pal Kenny Daneyko. Not on the golf course today, but from his home in Randolph, New Jersey.
It's too wet out there, fellas. So
Yeah.
I have the pleasure of joining you. Good to be on with you.
All right. He joins us via the MSG 150 speed dial presented by Files by Verizon. So, Kenny, I know you're going to come on and tell us that the Devils are taking Jack Hughes Friday night, right?
Well, look, I'm not going to change my stance. I think when I spoke to you last time, I would assume it's Jack Hughes. That is just my opinion from what I hear, obviously, from scouts and everybody knows a lot more than me throughout the National Hockey League. But the Devils, obviously, like a lot of teams, keep it very close to the vest. And obviously, you have 2 great players at the top of the draft. It's a deep draft throughout. But I will believe and still believe it's going to be Jack Hughes going to the New Jersey Devils. If he doesn't, we'll be happy with either guy. Obviously, me being with the organization as long as I have, we hear nothing but great things about both players, Jack Hughes and Capital Kako.
Well, someone like yourself who's been through the process, I'm sure this always brings back memories. This is Rookie Week presented by Squarespace. In 1982, the New Jersey Devils really weren't New Jersey yet, or they just had moved there. When you were drafted, what happened when you heard it was New Jersey?
Well, first off, I got a call early morning. I wasn't projected, Alan, to go in the first round. There was 21 teams at the time. The Devils had 2 picks in the first round. And you're right. The Devils did not have a team name yet. It was New Jersey. They had just moved from Colorado. So obviously they were having a fan vote in the Star Ledger newspaper on what the team's name should be. They had the 8th and 18th pick. I was not ranked to go in the first round. In fact, I was cautiously optimistic, late second, maybe early third round, possibly. Back then, you didn't hear as much about that, and I never really talked to any teams or even New Jersey for that matter. And I get a call early morning. I thought my mother was pranking me. She says, Kenny, get out of bed, come take this call. It was relatively early, and I said, it's one of my friends playing a prank. It's far too early, Mom. And that's the truth. I pick up the phone. They said, Ken, congratulations. You've been drafted 18th overall. I dropped the phone. I was beside myself like any young kid. That's your dream, first to get drafted and obviously an opportunity to play in the National Hockey League. And my mother looked at me and says, pick up the phone and ask who it is. I didn't know who it was. And that's the truth. And I said, oh, yeah, by the way, who is this? And they said, it's New Jersey, no team name. I covered up the phone. I've told this story umpteen dozen times. I turned to my mother, turned my head and said, where's New Jersey? So,
Come on.
But it didn't matter. I would have ran the 3,000 miles from Edmonton, Alberta to get my opportunity. And things worked out pretty well.
Indeed, they did. So you had the great story. You get picked in 82, and then October 5th, 1983, the first game of your illustrious career. Look at this here, actually at MSG against the Rangers.
How did you guys find that footage? Wow.
Look at Kenny. Look at you, Kenny D.
Babyface Ken Daneyko, 19 years old. Well, guys, obviously, it's a long time ago, but what a great honor, great thrill. And to be playing your first game, none other than Madison Square Garden. Pretty exciting for a young 19-year-old for sure. Our team was not very good at the time. And my mother, who was a small-town lady, she's passed since then, didn't even know if she was going to come. My dad convinced her. She says, I don't really like big cities. It's a little much for me. But she did make it to the game. And she goes, I don't care if that kid plays one more game in this league. He told me since 7 years old, 50 times a day, he's going to play in the National Hockey League. I did pick up my first point and had an assist against the Rangers. We got pounded, I believe, 7-3, something along those lines.
Right.
But that didn't matter at the time. I was just elated. I played my first game in the sports market, one of the greatest sports markets in the world, New York, obviously, in the famous Madison Square Garden.
You're a better man than me. I would have said I forgot the final score, but I did get a point. I wanted to make sure that the assist was there for you. The score doesn't matter at that point. July 1st coming up, obviously another big day in the NHL because that's when free agency begins. How active do you expect the Devils to be, especially with Taylor Hall?
Well, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you're seeing some dominoes fall and teams make moves already. The Rangers with Trouba and the Flyers obviously pick up a couple of defensemen along the way as well in trade. So I think there is going to be an awful lot of movement, and more so than we've ever seen in years, with the salary cap issues and restraints of certain teams and up against the cap. And that's something Ray's been real good at so far with the Devils as far as striking while the iron's hot, as they say. He's been patient throughout his tenure as general manager of the New Jersey Devils. I know we all get anxious. We want him to get somebody, sign somebody. He's certainly going to look to improve the team. Obviously, he's going to do that with the number 1 overall pick. But I would think the phones will be ringing like crazy for Ray Shero, and he's going to look at adding some pieces. Yes, obviously, Taylor Hall wants to see the direction of the team. He loves New Jersey. I mean, I know a lot of people make a lot of the fact that, well, when are they going to sign Taylor Hall? Is he going to sign July 1st? He's got leverage. It's all about, taking your time, certainly for a guy that's going to be a free agent but still has a year in his contract. And let's hope, I guess, from the Devils' perspective and fans that they make enough moves to entice Taylor Hall to stay long-term. He's an important piece of the puzzle, certainly, and coming off a Hart Trophy season the previous year. Injuries last year and a lot of struggles for the team in general, coming off the playoff year, which was surprising the year before. So I think they're in the right direction. They've got a lot of good young prospects, and I think Taylor Hall just wants to see maybe them add a veteran piece or two, whether it's free agency or through the trade, via trade.
Kenny, you briefly mentioned Jacob Trouba. The Rangers, of course, just acquired him from Winnipeg. What do you think he's going to bring to the Rangers?
Well, look, they're very hard to find right-handed defensemen. He's big. He can play in all situations and plays pretty physical. He had a career year, 50 points, a lot of assists along the way. So you would think he's going to add a lot of stability. He's only 25 years old, but anytime you can pick up a defenseman, they're just not hard to find. Bigger bodies with good reach and play with a little bit of an edge like Jacob Trouba does. They're hard to find, no question about it. He's 25, so I'm sure he's going to be an important piece of their puzzle. Every team wants to add defensemen along the way in depth, but I think he's obviously a lot more than a depth defenseman. So for all intents and purposes, looks like a real good acquisition for the New York Rangers. Time will tell. Fits everything, timing, and you never know how these trades or acquisitions or free agents work out or signings along the way with that organization. You're all excited initially, and sometimes you've got to temper that a little bit, I believe, from the standpoint we've seen so many teams add good players and it just didn't fit. But from my perspective, yeah, Jacob Trouba was a guy that a lot of teams would like to have and should be a real good piece for the Rangers.
And we'll see what he gets in a contract, but we've seen already some players getting paid.
Alan, I want to go there for a second.
Yeah. Eric Carlson.
Boy, do I wish I was playing today. God bless these guys, because I am just dumbfounded at some of the numbers I'm hearing for certain players getting these days. I know the star guys you got to pay, but if you're an average defenseman in this league that plays 16, 17 minutes, you're getting north of $5 million. What a game. What a life right now for a National Hockey League player.
Work hard, kids.
Kenny, it's
Work hard, kids.
Never too late to come back, Kenny.
Oh, gosh, man, I wish. My heart always says yes, Bill. The legs might have something to say about that, but boy, oh boy, their eyes light up certainly this time of year, and especially with the leverage I'm talking about. supply and demand, and certainly Jacob Trouba is another guy that's going to get a lot of money.
Kenny, hey, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much. Good luck with the golf game the rest of the summer, okay? I'm sure we'll be talking to you before then, however.
My pleasure, guys. Friday should be exciting for both franchises, and the rivalry is going to heat up again individually with Hughes and Kakko, whichever way it goes, as well as the Devils and Rangers, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
And we'll look forward to you actually having you join us on Friday night, the night of the NHL Draft. Thanks so much, Kenny.
Take care, guys.